Hey guys, Brown Bear here. Today we are in the Hornet again, the F18C in DCS World, and as you can see we are over the ocean, low on fuel, and we're going to do some air-to-air refueling. So I get asked this quite a bit on forums and Discord by friends, and it's something that comes up quite a bit, not just for me but for a lot of people. Is, you know, I can't air-to-air refuel, it's driving me crazy. You know, I've been practicing for a whole week, or 5 hours straight, or whatever the case may be, and you're just ready to throw in the towel. And look, it does get like that, and I got like that. But hopefully this tutorial will show you how easy it can be, and maybe show you some of the mistakes you're currently making. We'll cover them a bit later on. Cover them off, sorry, a bit later on rather. But for the moment, let's focus on what we're going to do here, which is obviously I'm right behind the tanker, as you can see, and currently turning on my position lights, and I have them locked up. So a lot of people say they have difficulty with closing range, or the speed at which they close to the tanker. And what tends to happen is they're closing quite gradually, then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're closing way too fast, you hit the brakes, you pull back into the throttle, and you overshoot, and you have to basically come back around, reline up again, and it's an absolute pain. So as you can see on the screen here, I have the tanker locked up on my radar, and you can do that by I have the Wing Super Libre F18 Hornet stick. But if you don't have that, you would basically press the equivalent switch on your controller for sensor control switch right, which in mine is the actual if you have the Hornet stick, which would be mapped to the castle switch right, which makes your right MFD the point of interest, and then obviously press that again once more to lock up the target straight in front of you. So that will help. It will show, as you saw on the HUD there, it'll show VC, which is velocity closure, and it'll give you plus or minus at what distance you're actually closing to the carrier. Recommendation is when you get closer to the tanker and you are putting up on your radio comms there that your intent is to refuel, you would set the radar to standby. So you did it on the right hand side, as you saw earlier on there, and you would turn off your chaff and flare dispenser as you approach the tanker. You'll see now in a few minutes there, or in a second, I will look down to the bottom left, and under the pilot's left arm is the switch for the refueling boom, to extend that. But for the most part, this is relatively straightforward. So I'm having issues here contacting the tanker. I think I did this about 2 or 3 different times, and I might have actually hit call the ball, the button I have call the ball to, by mistake. But there's a bug in DCS that I've noticed anyway, certainly, which is around contacting the tanker, in which there I am extending the boom there now, in which you go to contact the tanker and you state your intent to refuel, which is fine. He responds, but then you go to request contact, and he just says I think it's a return pre-contact. And he does that 2 or 3 times in this tutorial, as you'll see, or this video. So it's definitely a bug that I've noticed. I'm not sure if anyone has reported, but anyway, coming back to the point, on the left hand side of the screen there, you'll see I have the controls mapped out, and you can see my throttle there going up and down, and my stick there on the cross there going left, right, up or down. You want to keep your movements extremely small, very, very fine. And you can. The reason I showed that control input is to demonstrate how little you move that stick. Okay, so for me, I have that's my F18 Super Libre stick mounted on the wing base, and it's sitting on a 9-inch extension, so I have a huge range of motion. I didn't get a measuring tape out, so I don't know, but left, right, forward and back, I have roughly, I'd say, about 6 inches in every direction. So I do not have curves on my set in my profile, because of such a huge range of motion, and such as a result such a high resolution that I can actually, you know, manipulate on the stick. But one thing I would recommend is, if you have trouble and you have a different stick setup, you know, and it has a much smaller range of motion, set up a curve. Start with something like, you know, 15, and it will just make your life a little bit easier when it comes to the finer adjustments.
Ready, pre-contact.
You can see here I'm actually flying in formation with the tanker. This is on purpose, obviously, for the purpose. This is just tutorial, but generally you want to approach the carrier or the tanker from underneath on the left hand side. Generally, you know, a little bit closer up would be your holding position if you're waiting for for your buddies to finish refueling, or, you know, contact the tanker to refuel. But try and fly in from my formation with the tanker, and the main reason being, this will allow you to get used to making those fine adjustments with the throttle and the stick. You know, give you awareness of where, you know, you keep the tanker at a certain distance, you know, in your vision or in reference to something, so you can stick in between, you know, the top right corner of the hood and the frame, the canopy frame, for example, you know, or a certain part of them within that zone, and it just gives you a reference, you know, so you're not panicking when you get up close and all that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend staying behind the tanker or to the left hand side of the tanker, and get closer and closer as you get more comfortable, and this will greatly help two things: formation flying, because as you can see, formation flying and air-to-air refueling, both of them, you will be, the stick and throttle will not stop moving, and no pilot will ever stop moving those, and it doesn't matter how good you are. So there will always be fine adjustments, and for the most part, the trick with air-to-air refueling is you need to adjust before it happens. Okay, so I'm not talking a second or two before it happens, but we're talking milliseconds, and your brain will just get used to doing it. So here we are coming up on the tanker. We've cleared contact, and obviously radar set to standby. Dispenser is shaft and further dispenser is off, and we're approaching here. So very, very, very small movements. Okay, try and keep it as steady and slow as possible. It doesn't matter if this process here takes you 10 minutes. You know, the fact of the matter is that you got there and you took your time. So right here, we're coming up to the basket. Never, ever, ever focus on the basket. Okay, you should not be looking at that. So you see the way on the tanker's wing there, the boom where the basket is coming out of. Sorry, it is actually in line with the top left-hand corner of my hood. So now, obviously, I didn't do it on purpose. I'm just used to refueling, but you know, I do this in when I'm refueling the Tomcat. I would, you know, keep him on the kind of right-hand side of the hood as a reference, because obviously the boom in the Tomcat is further to the right. But for the purpose of this, pick a reference point. It doesn't matter what it is or where it is, and keep it there as long as that basket is kind of close enough to the tanker, or close enough to the to your jet. Try not to move the stick too much forward and back, so obviously pitch up or down, as this is very likely to induce oscillation, which is so it's called PIO, pilot induced oscillation, which is extremely hard to get out of. Basically what it means is your jet just goes up and down, up and down, up and down, and what happens is you tend to overcorrect rather, and the oscillation gets worse and worse as it continues. So if that happens to you and you start noticing you're up and down, you're oscillating, reduce the throttle, come back away from the tanker, keep saying carrier, from the tanker, and settle your jet, get your bearings about you, and try again. This will take time, guys. This is not easy, and for I've heard a lot of people say this, including real or ex-military pilots that have done this and flown the Hornet. This is harder to do in DCS than it is in real life, and there's a simple reason for that. We don't have that that sense of being in the jet and moving around, you know. Obviously you can get that obviously if you have a motion rig and you have loads of money.
Help me, I'm poor.
But you know, it's still not going to be as close as the real thing. So just be patient. We are missing a very important sense here, and we're basically flying by what we see in front of us and the sound, and that is it. So take your time. So right here you can see I've disconnected a couple times. Okay, that is not on purpose. So that's me actually disconnecting. So I haven't done air-to-air refueling in the Hornet in quite some time, probably about 6 to 8 weeks now. But it's something nevertheless I get a lot of questions on, and as I said already, I wanted to show you. But you can see obviously my stick movements, my throttle movements on the screen there, and on the left hand side, the bottom left hand side, you can see the corresponding movements on my Windwing Super Libre Hornet stick as well. So it just gives you an idea of the range of motion, how small the movements need to be. So I think we're going to try again now in a second, and what I want to show you is a little trick, and it's used by real pilots as well as virtual pilots, and it's basically called driving into the basket. Okay, and what that means is when you get close to the basket, so you're talking 5 feet or so, you'll hear my callouts. I have a video on those called Moving Zones, realistic air refueling. It's not realistic at all, but it's cool for this. When you get close to the basket, and you're fairly confident that you're lined up, and if you just had that bit of extra speed, you'll drive your refueling boom into the basket. It's called basically just increasing the throttle. Okay, so you'll see I get lined up here. I think it's on this attempt to do it. Really, just a bit lined up, and what I'll do is I did it there. So I forced the throttle forward, nearly went into full military power just for a second. The engines on the Hornet actually take a couple of seconds to spool up properly, so they can be quite slow, so which makes obviously refueling that bit harder. But it's called driving into the basket. So as soon as you're close enough, ram the throttle forward, not all the way, just ease it forward a little bit, and then that'll give you that bit of extra speed to get into the basket, and then obviously reduce the throttles accordingly to maintain your formation flight with the tanker. So having a bit of trouble here, as you can see, and I'm actually just call it out, you can't see it. I'm not using my rudder pedals. I have rudder pedals which I use all the time. I purposely have them away from me. I know you can't see it in the video, but just trust me on that, because you do not want to use your rudder when you're doing air-to-air refueling. Yeah, for getting in flight formation with the tanker and getting up close and stuff like that. It's fine, but for formation flight. But once you kind of get into the position and you're trying to maintain formation flight, you wouldn't really use your rudder, because it's just going to mess things about. You don't really need yaw. It's all about fine roll and pitch correction. So obviously for this, I'm not using my rudder pedals, is what I'm saying. That was a very long-winded way of telling you that. So here we are. It looks like I'm not connected to the basket, but I am. You can see at the bottom there, DDI, the fuel is going up 10,200 pounds now. And you can go transfer complete just a second, and we should disconnect. And I want to show you how you disconnect according to the rule book.
Yo, you about done?
Transfer complete.
There we go, transfer complete. Look right and left, make sure it's clear, drop a little bit below the tanker, and then move away to the right hand side. And in this time frame you would retract the refueling boom, and you'll see me doing that there now. There she goes in. So look guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please do like, share and subscribe if you thought this tutorial was useful, and stick a comment down below as to if you have any questions, or if you're looking for some tips, or if you have a particular video request, put it in the comments or join the Discord. My link to the Discord channel is in the description, and come and say hello, and I'll be happy to talk to you directly and see how we can go or how I can help you. random shout out to one of my subscribers, Tom Ole. Welcome, Tom. How you doing? Thanks for subscribing. I really appreciate the support. Every subscriber helps this channel grow and gives me a bit of a boost into producing more content and sticking on this journey. So appreciate your support once again. Thank you very much for listening. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you all soon in the next video.